Okay, so we will start with the third chapter in literature, that is Sandalwood Trees. Okay, what is the story about? A girl who was blind. Alright. Anything else about the story?
And mom, she saves a forest.
Okay. So a blind girl who saves a forest. Right? Yes, are you all able to hear me? Okay, so alright, so this story is about a blind girl, and if being blind she is saving a forest, then she must be very brave also, right? Okay, alright. So, let's try the story. Okay, do you all know the story? What do you want? Should I tell you the story or will you tell me the story? I'll tell. Okay, okay, alright. Okay, so let's start. Now, the story is about a small girl, brave little girl, and she is telling that her parents, and she lived in Karimunai village on the eastern Ghats, and her father, he owned a small piece of land, a piece of terraced land. You know, on the hill slopes, farming is done on like stairs types of land. You must have seen. Have you ever been there? Or in, okay, and so he owned a piece of land there on the hill slopes, and her mother, she looked after the goats, and this little girl, she helped both of them, and she also at the same time studied in the village school. And Gugu, the name of her dog is Gugu, she was her companion, and both, means the little girl and the dog, they used to run up and down the hilly slopes whenever they could find time. And the day when she was 13 years old, a terrible thing, a very bad thing happened, and it was after sunrise, means it was morning, and her parents, and she heard a low rumbling sound. What is a rumbling sound? A continuous low sound which went on and on, and when that sound went on, the goats and the dog, they both felt uneasy, and within minutes, means there is rumbling sound, and within minutes what happened, there was an explosion, and a stone came flying and hit the girl's head, and she turned around to see what was the cause of that. And her head, obviously if you are hit on your head by a stone, obviously you will have pain, so her head was throbbing with pain, and she turned around and cried, "Amma, where are you?" But her voice was drowned, means no one could hear her voice because of the noise of the boulders. Now these boulders are huge stones, and they were rolling down the hills, so obviously her voice was not heard, and she thought that she heard her mother call her name Sunanda, and she tried to run, but obviously it was of no use, and she looked and gazed at the horrific, means it was a very sad and bad and terrible sight to see landslide. And she saw, because they lived on a slope, so from the top of the hill there were huge boulders of rocks coming down where they were, and suddenly something came and hit her in her eyes, and she because of the force, you know, she staggered and she moved unsteadily, lost her foothold, and she fell, and after that she knew nothing till she woke up in Rao Garu's house. Now when she opened her eyes, she found that everything was dark, and then she realized that she has lost her eyes. And you know, a 13-year-old girl, now most of you are of the, I think 12, around 12 years, 12, 13, yes? So you could well imagine what would the condition of the girl be. At this age she lost her eyes, so obviously she started to cry, and she cried so much that she shook. And Gugu, her dog, he was by her side, and the dog was licking her hand. Now who was Rao Garu? He was the headmaster of the village school, and he brought this girl to his house, and the girl's parents and the goats, they all were killed in the landslide, and only the girl and Gugu got saved miraculously. Now means Rao Garu and his wife, whom the girl called Mami, they were very good to her. But obviously, though everyone around might be good to us, but the place of our parents no one can take in our lives. So she missed her parents and she missed her home, and means the most terrible thing was that this darkness which she felt all around her. If you are able to see, if you have pain in your hand, if you don't have a leg, then also means it is okay, but then when you can't see anything, that is the most terrible thing that could happen. And so she felt that she was falling deeper and deeper in a pit that has no bottom, means she is simply going down and falling and falling and falling. And but bravely she suppressed her crying, and her dog Gugu was a great comfort to her in all this. And very often he used to sit very close to her, and the girl, she stroked him and cuddled him and spoke to him. And now Rao Garu, he wanted to send this little girl to school, but the girl refused and said that how can I go to the school? Now I am very different from the rest of them, and then everyone will make fun of me. And while saying that, she cried. So Rao Garu, he agreed. He said okay, it's all right, and he let her stay at home. And then slowly and steadily, the girl, she began to get used to the darkness around her. She spent a lot of time with Mami, Rao Garu's wife, and she was very kind to the girl. So she learned to make garlands for the goddesses, and Mami, she prepared offerings for the puja. And then in the evenings, normally what happened, Rao Garu, he gave her company, and then they used to talk on so many things for hours. And the landslide that occurred, they still haunted the girl, and she asked him that, uncle, why do you think, what is the cause of landslides? Okay, now I will ask you the same question, students. What do you think, why do the landslides occur? Any idea? Okay. Who is this? All right, speak a little loudly. Joshita, what were you saying? Okay, and what does Rao Garu explained her, that man, he has started to encroach. Encroach means he is taking control of something in a very gradual way, and he is not being noticed. So he is encroaching, means going where, doing what he is not supposed to do. And so he said that man has been encroaching on the nature thoughtlessly, and he is denuding the hillsides. Geography, have you studied about denudation? Okay, so see the meaning that is given here. I think you have your books with you. Okay, all right. So removing the covering of something so that it is bare, exposed. Now the trees, the roots, they hold on the land, the soil, all right, and when they are cut, so obviously what happens, the trees are removed, and the soil that was held together by the trees, now it is let loose, and so the soil, it also moves away from its place, floods, rains, anything, and then the hills, they are laid, or the stones, they are laid bare. Okay, and so he said that what happens, that the man, he is denuding the hillsides, and what he is doing, he is cutting down the trees, and the trees, they actually keep the mountains, they keep it together, and without them, if there is any disturbance, then the earth causes these huge chunks of stones to slide down. And so why then this, the girl asked that what is this denudation? So he continued and explained, Rao Garu, that trees are cut for so many illegal reasons. Some are legal also, like sometimes they are cut for industrial development, and but then there is illegal cutting of trees. Felling means cutting of trees too. And so the girl says that okay, so this is this denudation, that because of this I don't have my mother with me. Now gradually the days passed, and the little girl, she gained confidence, and she started to touch, feel, understand things pretty well now, because she cannot see anything, and even her sense of smell, it got better. And sometimes she roamed around with her dog and went on afternoon walks, afternoon strolls. And now she was not unfamiliar with the hills, because she had been living there since her childhood, so she knew the hills pretty well. And her favorite spot was a cluster, means a group of trees, a group of shady trees, and there she would go, she would sit, she would lean against the trees, and Gugu sitting very close to her. And then on the tree there was a cuckoo, is a bird, and that bird used to call aku, and if the girl answered, then the bird, it answered even louder. Now one day what happened, as she went to her usual place, there was this wind blowing, and the same scent of trees, and she noticed that the bird was silent, the bird was not making sound. So the girl called out, but still there was no answer from the bird. And so she became curious that what's the matter, and she sat down to think. And when she tried, she whenever used to sit there among the cluster of trees, and she used to lean down at the trees, lean back at the trees. Now when she tried to lean against the tree, she realized that there was no tree there, and just a short stump. When they cut off the trees, they just leave a short stump in the ground. Have you seen that? All right. So there was just a short stump in this place, and the girl, she bent down and smelled this stump. And when she smelled of sandalwood. Sandalwood, you all know? Okay. And so what she did, she picked up a stone, rubbed it against the middle portion of the stump, and then she could smell sandalwood. And she walked around and found that there were 3-4 more stumps. And now she was thinking, she was wondering that who has cut down these sandalwood trees and why. So she remembered denudation, what Rao Guru had told her, and she repeated the word to herself. And now the dog, he was also barking, and so she said to her dog that okay, let's go home. And very fast they walked home, and she entered the house and told Rao Guru that uncle, some sandalwood trees have been felled, they had been cut, and who has cut them? So Rao Guru, he said that I don't know, Sunanda, and I will check with Mudaliar. Now who was this? He was the head constable at the village police station. So the next day, again while she had this walk with her dog, she brought again new news for Rao Guru, and that was that more sandalwood trees she found had been cut from there. But Rao Guru, who was not listening, he said that no, Sunanda, I talked to Mudaliar, and he said that the area where the sandalwood trees are, that area is well protected, and no one can even go and even break a single twig from the tree. But Mami, she supported Sunanda and said that if Sunanda is saying that someone is cutting the trees, then obviously she won't be lying. Alright. And then Rao Guru, but he was insistent, and he said that Mudaliar, he was very upset, and he asked me, and he have also asked me to tell you that you should not spread such rumors. Rumors are news stories which are not true. So he said that he has asked you, Sunanda, not to spread these rumors about the felling of sandalwood trees. And then the girl, she was unhappy. She said, obviously, who will listen to me? I'm a poor little girl, blind girl of 13-year-old. Alright, 13 years old. Who will listen to me? And so Mami, she comforted her and said her that you don't feel upset about it. And she put her arms around her and comforted her. But the girl was sure that the valuable sandalwood was being stolen. And so early the next morning, she along with her dog went to the same area, and she let Gugu lead her, because obviously she could not see. So she let her dog lead her, and after searching, she found a place behind a bush to hide, and there she waited impatiently. She was waiting something to happen, and she was almost asleep. And when Gugu, her dog, growled, barked, and she was alerted almost immediately. And the next minute Gugu, he sprang forward and he was barking, and the girl, she was crouching, means hiding behind the bushes, and she was waiting, all right, just to see what will happen next, with suspense. And she heard some footsteps approaching, some people coming nearer, and as they came nearer, Gugu, he stopped barking. Now somebody were there, but obviously she could not see, so somebody asked, what are you doing here, doggy, patrolling like me? So somebody asked the doggy, because the doggy was barking, and the doggy was not hiding, so they could see the dog. And so somebody asked the doggy that, what are you doing, are you also patrolling, the keeping watch over this area? And the girl, she recognized that this was Mudalia's voice, means the head constable of the village. And Mudalia has not noticed the girl because she was hiding, and when she heard him going back, the girl relaxed a little, but otherwise nothing happened during the rest of the day, and she returned home. And then the same night she waited for it to get 11, and then she heard that Rao Garu and his wife, they were snoring, they were already asleep, and so she motioned to Gugu, her dog, to follow her, and both of them quietly, very quietly slipped out of the house, because it was, see, 11 o'clock, a blind girl, all right. And so both of them, they very quietly slipped out of the house, and then they reached the place where the sandalwood trees were, and she heard a sound, a whirring sound, means a machine, a sound made by a machine when some cutting is being done, when something is being cut. So Gugu, he became uneasy, and he started to bark. So she told her dog to quiet down, not to bark, and then they walked on, and the noise it became louder and louder, and suddenly it struck her that obviously she cannot see, but the men who were working in the dark, they obviously would have been lights with them, and they could see her. And so she pushed her dog to her side, and then crouched down all on her hands and knees on the ground, and she held the dog by the collar, and very slowly she crawled forward, listening what was happening. And this sound, this whirring sound, or the sound which was made by the machine when something is being cut, it was incessant, means it was not stopping, it continued. And there was also, she could also hear the sound of the vehicles moving around, and after what seemed like an eternity, eternity is the time that will not end, so it seemed that the sound was going on, and the sound of the moving vehicles went on and on, but finally it came to an end, and she could hear the men who were speaking to one another. And so one man said that it is enough for today, and it's getting now to be 2 o'clock, and remember, and he told that man that, remember, the 10% of the money you earn by selling this sandalwood is mine, and otherwise the authorities would be informed, and you will be behind bars for the rest of your life. And the little girl, she was stunned, because the voice that she heard was of Mudalia, who was the head constable of the school, but she held her breath not to make any sound. And she heard the other voice said that, of course, sir. Now suddenly everything was quiet, and means her heart was thumping, all right, going very fast like a steam engine, and she rushed back to her home with her dog, and quietly got into the bed, but still she could not sleep now at all, and Mudalia's voice kept ringing in her ears. And in the morning, as soon as Rao Garu was awake, she told him everything, and then he was like, are you sure, Sunanda? And she said, yes uncle, I am 100% sure. And then he said that, okay, then I must talk about this with the police headquarters at Octocommund. And Rao Guru, he said that, okay, he will talk there, and Mami also called her a brave girl. And after a few days, she was called to the police headquarters with Rao Garu, and there she was asked several questions to confirm what she has seen, what she have already told Rao Garu. And on the way back home, she asked Rao Garu that what has happened to Mudalia. So he said that if not like this, and he said that if there's enough evidence found against this person Mudalia, then he will be arrested. And what happened after a month or so later, that Rao Garu took her hands and said that, my dear Sunanda, you have been given a reward by the police department for helping them to unravel or to solve a sandalwood racket. And now the girl, she became so happy. She grabbed both his hands and pressed them to her lips. And Mami, she was also very happy, and she said, oh wonderful, I will make payasam today and offer it to the Lakshmi Devi, or to goddess Lakshmi. And then Rao Garu, he said that, now what is more, that I have also decided to admit Sunanda in the National School for the Blind. And Sunanda, and he told her, because if you remember that Sunanda earlier had said that she will not go to the school, but he told Sunanda that here there will be people like you only, and here you could learn something nice also, a useful vocation, means which would help you to find some work in future. And then he said that the money that you have got as a reward, I will put it in the bank, and it will help you in future whenever you want to start something new. And the girl, she wanted to thank Rao Garu, but she did not have the words. She was too overwhelmed, means she was too overcome by strong feelings. Alright, so that was the chapter. Now you all tell me, what do you learn from this chapter? Who is this, by the way? You are so bright, my dear, that we did the entire chapter and you don't even know the name of the chapter. That is very surprising. The name of the chapter is Sandalwood Trees. Okay, the rest of the students. Anubhav, you tell me, what do you learn from this chapter? Come on, you don't learn anything from this chapter? Anyone else? Where's Mehak? Mehak, are you there? What? Anyone else? Where's Aditri? Yes, Aditri? Are you able to hear me? Haan beta. What do you think? What do you learn from this chapter? Come on, students, I think you need to answer. She was. Yes, very nice. We should never give up, even though we might be facing difficulties, and sometimes, and the difficulties that this girl was facing were not small. She did not have her parents. She could not see. And still, in spite of all that, she was so brave. And whatever, what is this music? Switch it off. Okay, so even in spite of of her disability that she could not see, and the problems that she was facing in her life, no parents, all right, but still, she moved on. And not only she moved on, she was successful also, and she was so brave. Sometimes we think, okay, no, I cannot do this because I don't have this. No, I cannot get good marks because I can't study so well. So it is not like that. If you set your mind on something, obviously you can achieve whatever you want to. All right, all of you? So is the chapter understood? Okay.